All right, hello everyone. So before we dive in, we just want to let you all know something. So my name is Shayna, and my name is Scott. And we have what's called an ASL interpreter in front of us. Their name is Erica, and she's sitting right here in front. And she will be voicing for the both of us, okay? Cool? So let's get started. Let's dive in. Next slide, yeah. Okay, so we just want to explain a little bit of background for both of us. So we were both born deaf, and we were both born to a deaf family. So my whole family and his whole family use sign language. My brothers and sisters, his brothers and sisters. I am the second generation in deaf in my family, and Scott is the third. So when I was born, my first language was American Sign Language, ASL. So this is my first language. So I was always signing, and then later I learned English, and the same for Scott. So you guys might all think that this is common, but it's not, because 90% of deaf children are born to hearing parents, and 10% of deaf children are born to a deaf family, and they get exposure to ASL early on. So it's actually very rare for deaf children to be born into an entire deaf family. So were we exposed to the outdoors? Not really. I mean, we went camping and things like that, but doing sports and different activities, we didn't really have that. And both of us can't hear anything. We've never heard the sound of music. We don't hear the birds singing, the ocean with the waves coming in and out. We are both profoundly deaf. So we want to just show you what that looks like. So Scott's going to stand looking that way, and then I'm going to clap. Again, no, I don't hear anything. Can someone tap him on the shoulder for me? Can someone tap him? Tap him. Oh, hey, there you are. Oh, okay. So that's how we actually get each other's attention. We have to tap each other on the shoulder, and we always have to do that. That's very, that's how we get each other's attention. So, and on the mountain, we can't hear anything. If an avalanche is happening, if rocks are falling, we don't know, and we just keep, trucking along like nothing's happening. So, everyone has a beginning to their story. So how my journey began was when I was 22 years old. I was living in Maryland. I live by the corn stalks. It's very flat. There's no mountains at all, very rural. And I graduated from college, and me and two friends, we decided to do a road trip out to the American West, about 2,000 miles in our old Toyota Corolla. It was barely running, and we went out west for the first time. We had never been there, and we were shocked. We saw Colorado for the first time. I was 22 years old, seeing these huge mountains, Utah, Wyoming, Washington, Oregon. And we said, hey, why don't we climb some of these mountains? And we did some small hills at first, some hiking, and then, those gradually got bigger and bigger. And then we saw Mount Rainier. And we said, yeah, let's do this. So we're like, okay, where do we start? Google. All right, how do I type Mount Rainier is what we typed in the Google search. We had two answers to that. You need some technical experience, you need to take classes or courses, and you need to have the right gear. So we thought, okay, let's go to a class. Me and my, the three of us, me and my two friends, and we're all deaf. So we went into this one shop, and we said, hey, we want to learn some technical skills. And the first thing they said was, how can we communicate? Are you safe? Do you need an ASL interpreter? And then who's going to pay for that ASL interpreter? And so we had no answers for them. And we didn't know. That was my first time even asking to take a course. So, I decided to say, hey, do you mind covering the interpreter costs? And the instructor said, well, that's going to be over $1,000. I'm not going to cover that. So who's also going to cover the interpreter's liability insurance? And then you also have to pay for your own class. So then the whole total cost was over about $2,000, and that was not accessible to us. So we thought, hey, you know what? Let's forget about the technical skills. Well, let's get some warm clothes and gear. So we went to REI, and I was shocked to see, a coat costing $500, backpacks, this nice North Face jacket, this Mountain Hardwear. We're like, wow, are you serious? Right, it was nuts. So I thought, oh, fuck that. So we went to Goodwill. I went to Goodwill, and I thought, okay, they'll have some mountain equipment in there. They'll have some gear. So I found 2 garden gloves, 2 rain jackets, 3 pairs of sweatpants. I thought, yeah, you know what? We have everything we need. Let's go climb Mount Rainier. And then we showed up, and who's gone to Paradise, the name of the place where Mount Rainier is? Has anyone been there? No. Oh, I see some people back there. Okay. Yep. Awesome. Maybe like 5 people out in the crowd. So we showed up, and a park ranger said, no, the 3 of you should not be here. You are not in the right equipment. But we went ahead anyway. And we got about halfway through. This was our photo, about halfway. Our pants soaked. And then we had to put crampons on. But the problem was I didn't have any idea how to put them on. So I looked over and I saw a father and a son nearby. And the father was teaching their son how to tie their crampons on. And their son was about 10 years old. Hold on. So I saw that the son was able to tie them and put them on very smoothly. So they had direct access through language through the father and the son. So this 10-year-old had more skills than I did at 22. And I looked over, and this kid was tying on his crampons, and his dad said, or I went to the dad and I said, hey, can you tell me how to try those on? And the father looked at me and he said, are you serious? You're on Mount Rainier and you don't know how to put crampons on. He thought I was like the craziest person on earth. But the problem was I didn't have the information in my language directly. So I tried to put them on. I probably didn't do it correctly. And then I realized, this shit's way too serious. So we bailed and we went right back down. And then we got to the bottom and I wrung out my sweatpants. They were just soaked. And, we realized, no, we can't climb this mountain right now. So it took us about a year. We studied and we learned everything through YouTube, how to tie knots, all this different technical stuff. And a year later, in 2013, went back and made it to the top. Yeah. The 3 of us. This is a year later. And then we went to Africa. We did an overland trip about 6 months from the bottom to the top of Africa. So during that trip, we were in Tanzania, and Kilimanjaro was there. So Scott said, hey, let's do this. Let's climb together. I said, no, I've never climbed before. Because all I had was like Hollister sweatpants. She's like, no, come on, we can do it. I'll teach you. I said, okay, well, let's try it. And we made it to the top. We summited, and I enjoyed it so much. And then that's when we realized that I got all the information I needed from Scott in sign language. So I was able to learn so much quicker. So we said, oh, that was so fun. So then that just led to mountain after mountain. We went to Aconcagua in South America, and we summited that. And we said, no, this is awesome. So then we decided to go to Denali in Alaska. And my brother came with us, and he's deaf as well. And we were an all-deaf team, just the 3 of us. And my brother had never climbed big mountains before. But both of us said, don't worry, we'll teach you. You'll be fine. So, and my brother, he made it to the top. because he got all the information and technical skills from us in ASL. And then we were, all deaf team, the first deaf team to make it and summit Denali. So we decided we wanted to do more of that. However, so Scott started climbing in 2012 and me in 2015. Along this journey, we have experienced a pattern. And when we meet guides, they say, oh no, you're not going to be able to communicate on the mountain. We might have to do a different route than what you originally wanted to do. So the challenging one that you wanted to do, we're going to have to do an easier one because we can't communicate with you, or you'll be a liability. And they had never met us yet, but they already had this preconceived notion that as a deaf person, you will not be safe on a mountain because you can't communicate with us. And we became more and more frustrated. And so we said, you know what, let's show the world how we can communicate and climb the world as deaf people. So we climbed Everest, and Phil Henderson, his Full Circle expedition, inspired us so much. We said, you know what, we're going to do it too. So a year later, we decided to climb Mount Everest. Oftentimes, the biggest challenge for people with disabilities or deaf people is the public perception. So people will see us as deaf or with a disability, and they say, oh, well, what do I do? I don't know what to do, and they panic. They say, oh, you're not safe. And they'll kind of like back away from us a bit. So we were at Everest, our Sherpas, we had 2 for both of us. So when we met them for the first time, it was at Everest Base Camp. And we looked at each other like, how are we going to communicate? And the Sherpas, they know Nepalese, they know Sherpa indigenous language, and a little bit of English. And then for us, we know ASL first and written English. So we looked at each other like, okay, how are we all going to communicate? So on the world's tallest mountain, how are we going to communicate? And the first time we did that was at base camp. So this is one of our Sherpas. He summited Everest 9 times in total. So he sat down with both of us, and he touched my arm like this. He said, I've summited Everest 9 times, but I've never worked with a deaf person before. So tell me what's the best way for us to work together and communicate. And that attitude, that mindset, even though he had summited 9 times, he asked us, and that set a whole precedent for our expedition and us working together. He was so humble. He didn't have his ego there interrupting. So while we were on Everest, we need gloves. Are we able to use our phone with the gloves? It's almost impossible. So we had to teach some signs to the Sherpas. And the Sherpa said, yeah, cool, let's learn some signs. And again, he just had such an amazing attitude and amazing mindset. And we worked with him for only 2 months. He learned the most basic signs he needed for us to communicate efficiently on the mountain. So I just want to show you a little clip of that. So you notice there's no sound in this video, right? That's our life. Welcome to our life. We have no sound. So and we didn't use, any of our voices, just all gesturing and our hands. And what we were just discussing in this video was the flow rate for oxygen as we're on the mountain, because that's very important. As you're climbing in altitude at 25,000 feet, well, you could still understand each other about the flow rate and be able to communicate not needing our phone. So from the beginning to 2 months later, we were able to talk about life or or death situations and what we can do and how we can understand each other. And so we made it to the top. We summited the tallest mountain in the world, and we were able to climb with our Sherpas at 29,000 feet and able to communicate efficiently and safety. But what it really was about was their mindset, their attitude. They were so open. They wanted to communicate with us, and it was just so beautiful from the beginning to the end of the journey. So now, each one of you here in this beautiful place, ask yourselves, if I see a person with a disability, how should I approach them? I really want to say, just ask, because people are born with their disability. They know how to best communicate or how to best work together. And once you have that right attitude, that mindset, the world is just going to be a beautiful place. Thank you so much. And lastly, I do want to say thank you to Sam and to John for inviting us to be here. When they contacted us in July, we thought, oh, okay, Roxfest, yeah, we'll present there. But we met Sam last year, and he was just so, motivated to work with us. And he was always asking us questions and how we can work together. So it's really great to see, it come full circle and allowing us to present here. So we really appreciate you, Sam. Thank you so much. Sending you so much love. And I also want to thank John as well. When we got here to the festival, we thought, oh, we need an interpreter, not just for our talks, but for our conversations, to meet everyone. So we said, hey, can we bring our interpreter? And John said, yeah, okay, what do we need to do? Do we need to get another interpreter? And how can we make this event more accessible? So thank you so much for just the open-mindedness and your mindset. Thank you. Sending you so much love, too. So thank you. Thank you so much. And also, can you guys do this? This is like the deaf clap, if you wave like this. Thank you.